Hi, this is Josh Kulp for Daf Shevui. We are learning Daf Mem Zayin of Masechet Avodah Zarah. And I wanted to talk a little bit more, something I touched on last week, about this remarkable high level of abstract thinking that we see here in the Talmud. And this is a process, a phenomenon that we see a lot throughout the entire Talmud, and especially in the relationship between the Mishnah and the Talmud. The Mishnah and the early Amoraim in particular are full of concrete examples. If you do this, you're chayav, you're obligated. This particular object, you can't touch it on Shabbat. A person who trips over this, the person who put it there is obligated. A person who writes this in his ketubah, he's not allowed to do that. Right? All sorts of very particular concrete examples related to very concrete kinds of things. And then gradually, we see higher and higher levels of abstract thinking. You can see that in the questions and the concepts that are brought up in this page. And it's something I think you should pay attention to as you're learning Talmud. The first concept I wanted to mention over here was a concept called dichui etzel mitzvot, whether the concept of once something has already been set aside or disqualified or in some way performed, it has various meanings in different contexts, it no longer either can become qualified or can become unperformed. It's hard to translate this, but the notion is something that we can see the broad abstract thinking over here, how once you have a name for a concept, you can take it from one field of halacha and apply it to another. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The earlier sugya over here is about covering the blood. When a person shechts, slaughters a wild animal or a bird, the blood must be covered with some dirt or with some ashes. That's a mitzvah that comes up in Sefer Vayikra, in the book of Vayikra. So the question is, if the wind covered it up, it counts as covered. But if it comes uncovered, the wind uncovers it again, then it has to be covered again. And that seems to prove that there is no concept of dichui etzel mitzvot, because you have the blood has been covered, so the mitzvah has been performed. You have to cover the blood. And now it gets uncovered, and now there's an obligation to go cover it again, which means even though something has already been done, if it becomes undone, it has to be done again. That's with the case of covering the blood. And the question at hand is over here is, if one cuts down a lulav from a tree that has been worshipped, can that lulav, the palm branch, be used in the ritual of Sukkot? The question over here has been boiled down to becoming the same question. Once the tree is worshipped, it's disqualified. And then the question is, once the lulav has been removed and it's no longer part of the tree, can it be qualified again? If we have a concept of yesh dichui, then once something is out of that realm, it's out of that realm permanently, and the lulav can never be used. But if we don't have such a concept, then it doesn't matter, because the lulav has been removed, it can be used as a part of the sukkah. But just without getting into the details, you'll learn the details as we go through the sugya. Just that idea of comparing the covering of blood with taking a lulav from a tree that's been worshipped, I think you'll appreciate how, let's say, lower level thinking people, unlike the rabbis, would not combine those two concepts together. There's another abstract discussion about what's the main aspect of the temple singing, of the part of the service of the temple that involves singing. Is it the Levi'im, the Levites, singing, or is it the playing of the instruments? You might ask, well, who cares? The question is, in our sugya at least, can those instruments be made from an animal that was worshipped? Again, you can see here that high level of abstract thinking. Right? We're tying in the concrete case to a more abstract case, a discussion about whether or not the main aspect of the temple service of the singing is with voice, in which case the instruments are just there to sweeten the voice, or is the main thing the musical instruments? Another example of an abstract question, when a person bows down to a stream, is he bowing down to the water that's currently in the stream, or is he bowing down to the entire stream which has different ramifications for whether or not the water becomes prohibited. So you can see all three of those examples are really excellent examples of abstract thinking. I want to finish up here by saying we're now going to get into a series of Mishnayot, particularly 3 Mishnayot, that each of them basically designed the same, saying there are 3 types of X, there are 3 types of houses, there are 3 types of stones, there are 3 types of trees, and in each of them, the first type is one that was created with idolatry in mind. In other words, the stone was formed originally when it was formed to be an idol, or the house was built to be a place of idolatry. The second one is it was built for secular purposes, but then it was modified by hand to become idolatrous. And the third case is when something was just sort of brought into it and can be removed. And really the question is, in these 3 cases, how integral to the idol does it have to be for it to become forbidden? The idolatrous nature of the idol. Does it have to have been created for idolatry? Can it be augmented for idolatry? Or is just something added to it in a very superficial manner? Does that make it an idol? That's the kind of question that will also bring us into Daf Memchet. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy learning this page.